present you a little bit more about Sofigate and Oracle Netsuite.
Excellent. Thanks so much for being here, Simo. Very happy to present this webinar together with you.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Excellent. Hey, why don't we tackle the topic and maybe quickly just elaborate our companies, QPR and Sofigate. So one slide is for each. And actually, maybe why don't we quickly go through the agenda? So we will go through those introductions, and just afterwards that one, we will dive into basics of process mining. So a simple introduction to methodology and what's needed there, but today's focus will be absolutely on this Oracle NetSuite transformation, for which Simo will elaborate different topics, best practices and use cases. And shortly after that, we will have a live demo from Oracle NetSuite application on QPR Process Analyzer. And then we have a short recap in the end. So regarding the companies, QPR, we are one of the leading process mining software vendors. We've done all kind of process insights and process improvements since 1991. And you can see the key figures of QPR over there. I've been with QPR last 4 years and I'm very excited about this process mining, doing a lot of consultancy and different customer projects in the space. And by the way, during the webinar, anytime you feel like asking a question or any topic or further details about any topics over there, we are very happy to have the questions on the spot with Simo. And obviously you can save and spare few for the Q&A in the end if you feel like. And then maybe Simo, quickly on the Sofigate side.
Yes, briefly about induction of Sofigate. We are the leading business technology company in the Nordics. We have offices in Finland, in Sweden, and in Denmark. And we help our customers in their transformations by combining and offering management services and modern technology solutions. And we have roughly a bit over 600 employees, consultants and experts, and our revenue is approximately 100 million this year.
Excellent. Super. It's very nice cooperating with companies like Sofigate and bringing these software solutions to our dear end customers.
Yes, I think we have been working with QPR now since 2015, 2016, somewhere there. So a few years already.
Absolutely. A lot of different really nice projects with successful results.
Yes.
And what's the main technology today to be discussed? It's process mining. So a quick recap regarding this one. It's a data-driven technology that we use data from several systems, for instance, ERPs, CRMs, and BPMs. And today, Oracle NetSuite should be our focus. And actually, there are multiple modules, as you will shortly hear from Simo's side. But how is the journey from that source data point of view? We have that sitting on the Oracle NetSuite, and those IT blueprints with event data are typically not used by the companies, since those are tricky log files to handle and manage, and the BI systems don't really have a use case for those. But in the field of process mining, we actually, that's the core part and the essential part, because we extract those gigantic log files and IT blueprints from Oracle NetSuite, and we build the process based on the actual data and records. So this is a real as-is process from data point of view. And these activities are boxes just like on any BPM and flow chart or diagram, and there are the transitions between any process stages. How are the processes? Simo or Yen, what do you think that process is always straightforward and really nice like this one, that not too many exceptions or deviations? Or what's the reality?
Maybe you have another kind of picture to show us about the reality.
I actually do have another one. So the reality looks something like this quite often. So there are the main activities, however, there's plenty of deviation and exceptions. And those are highly valuable to be identified, located, and the root cause is identified that why such happened and how to reduce and remove that. On the other end, I don't know, what do you think? Is automation a hot topic in Sofigate customer base and
Absolutely, yes.
yes, so different topics there. So the more deviations and variations there are on this spaghetti, the more difficult it is to automate and handle the effective operations over there.
Exactly.
So those are just a couple viewpoints highlighted. Then I have even one more slide regarding this flow chart. So if something is happening, for instance, a net price change or something similar, there's often huge correlations to different activities. And with this kind of a really straightforward color mapping, we can point those out and get the full picture that, for instance, something small in the beginning of the process upstream of it will end up often major rework and extra hassle in the latter part of the process and building up a lot of non-value adding work later on. So just to mention, for instance, finance department doing a lot of rework with invoices once the sales process is not streamlined well. And then obviously we want to go way beyond just the flow charting and understanding, but on top of the process mining data model, we are building this dashboarding capability. And for instance, over here, I can even maybe zoom in a little bit. We've got a on-time collection dashboard from our Netsuite and Salesforce combined data model. And these are highly interesting insights. Actually, I will drill down to these on the demonstration later on. Any comments, Simo, for the journey if you think about from data point of view and having it visualized like this? Is it how does it work in Netsuite? Or?
As we have seen at Sofigate, works really well, and it's really easy to apply on Oracle Netsuite data. So we have really at our Sofigate, at our own environment, seen the benefits of process mining.
Am I back?
Yes.
Excellent. Sorry for the small outage over there. I'm back. So I guess I was a few seconds out. There was a hiccup on the line. So we've done very nice results together from Netsuite.
Yes. If you can put it on presentation mode, so maybe we can.
Excellent.
Talk a little bit about Netsuite as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Speaking of Netsuite.
Yes, here. So those that are not familiarized yet with Netsuite platform, it's a genuine cloud solution, and it's a complete solution that includes ERP financials, customer relationship management, e-commerce, omnichannel, HR, supply chain management, and also built for Netsuite apps. And it can be used to run any kind of business from various industries. So there is a lot of functions, a lot of industry specific functions that you can also configure this according to your business requirements. So the range, and there is a quite wide range of processes that can be run on top of this platform, and in the core of everything is the data. And I guess our presentation today is about how to use that data to improve your performance and your business processes that produce the customer experiences and the products, the outcomes that your business is dependent on.
Absolutely. How do you find the cooperation between those modules? Like, is it straightforward?
Yes. And of course, as we did at Sofigate, we can do process mining between different platforms, such as, for example, Salesforce and Netsuite. So you can combine data from different sources and add it to the Netsuite data to expand the scope of the process mining analysis.
Indeed. So even though there are so many functions on the Oracle NetSuite built in, there are still customers using some other IT systems in parallel, so it's natural. So we can combine the data from some different systems. And did you mention the Salesforce? I guess that's a popular one as a pair with NetSuite as well.
Yes, and that is something we at Sofigate use ourselves, both Salesforce and Netsuite. And we recently conducted an operational next step transformation where we started using these solutions.
Okay.
And what we saw was that process mining really was something that you need to do a successful transformation.
Excellent. Hey, do you want to elaborate that transformation and perhaps different stages over there?
Yes.
So
you change the slide, the next one.
Yes.
Of course, there is a lot of use cases, and these transformation phases from planning to building to running the ERP systems, the platforms, and then into the continual improvement mode. And these phases are not that strict, they are overlapping, and many use cases are similar in each case. But if we start from the pre-migration, the planning phase, of course, what we need is a very good process documentation to get insight from from the complexity that you already showed us, and to be able to harmonize and standardize the process so that we won't end up duplicating the complexity in the transformation. So that can save a lot of time and money and energy in the building phase. And also you can use process mining to clean up your master data in your systems and evaluate the quality of the data before the actual implementation. And then, of course, it's good to really understand the execution gap between the current process performance and the target architecture, and what is the things that need to change in that transformation to get a fact-based analysis. And then, of course, to help the test coverage, you can identify the deviations from the process documentation, which is data-driven and shows all the possible variations so that your test coverage covers all the necessary paths, different process paths. And then, of course, after the implementation, you can use process mining to monitor the adoption for country level, on team level, or some specific, or for example, different business product lines, or then on user level, of course. And help the hypercare teams to provide better support for the usage, and to see the areas where they need to focus. And if they get a lot of contacts, they can always verify if it's a process-related problem or is it a user-related problem. And then process mining can help in change management to identify the most critical business cases. And of course, after running successfully and after a successful transformation, you turn into a continual improvement mode where you start innovating and optimizing ways of working and finding bottlenecks and leaning the processes to be even more optimized. And then, of course, as you already mentioned, automation is a big topic, and process mining is a key cornerstone of RPA and other automation activities to really understand the effects and causalities what RPA can provide to process mining. And then, of course, to measure the performance and the execution of processes in real time.
Excellent. Well, Simo, what's your, like, if we slice this into two, that there's a planning and building phase. So prior to that, go live, and then there's the running and improve. So for each of these two sets, what's your personal favorites, or for which you've seen the best customer benefits, for instance, in Oracle Netsuite?
Well, of course, it's really beneficial to understand the causalities between different functions, because usually you see the symptoms of process problems somewhere in the organizations, but to really find the root causes that can lead to those symptoms is really beneficial. And also the fact-based view gives you the power to do changes and to justify the business case or the need for the change.
Absolutely, I fully agree with you on those points. So it's really compulsory. You must understand what's going on now in order to do those automations and optimizations.
Yeah, and it's the data-driven approach, like turns that what you should do into an insight that you absolutely know what exactly you must do and why you must do. So it's not just to make a transformation because you should do one, it's to understand why you need to do some changes in the ways of working and in the technology platform also.
Indeed. So I think now you're coming to the human aspect of the transformation. So at Sofigate, you have a long history supporting your customers with business transformations and these. So obviously there's this technology part, but you were referring maybe there's that there's the human aspect always, and empowering them and having the full value of that transformation to be done either successfully or not that successfully clarified for the full organization.
Exactly, yes.
Excellent. I fully agree with you, and for those use cases we have excellent dashboards predefined on the QPR, and those can be used to elaborate and discuss with the rest of the organization. Very good. Maybe the core model development, the one we have in the second stage of these 4 categories, the building underneath their core model development. Do you think it's only there, or can it go like horizontally to different stages of the transformation and different models on each stage to be compared, for instance?
Yes, sure.
Very good. Is there anything else, Simo, you would like to share from this at this moment, or shall we?
Well, I guess our listeners are waiting us to actually show how this is done. So maybe we can open the actual tool and show them in practice what we have been doing.
Excellent. So a live demonstration of the Oracle NetSuite application. Let's go forwards with it. Okay, I'm currently in the QPR landing page. There's several windows on it, different dashboards attached to it, and you can already see the sneak peek. So it is NetSuite and Salesforce accounts receivable process, to be precise, that we will be looking at today. And let's do a quick discovery there to see the basic functionality and how does the process look. Here we go. And I like simple things, so let's start with something fairly straightforward here. So we have accounts receivable process. Organization is demo company selling some services and goods and creating sales orders to match those. And then there are some status changes on the sales order side, perhaps even projects created in terms of services delivered. But at some point of the sales process, there is invoice being created. And that's the main object for this finance department to be follow up in this accounts receivable. So whether the customer is clearing the invoice as expected, or is there something else happening, or a need for a credit note or some other rework to take place. So there's an invoice being created, invoice approvals to be checked that it's valid, and then there are the payments of the invoices. And since this is in a way a live connection to a demo company, there are some open invoices as well. So not all of them have been due yet and been cleared. And that's something that with process mining, we don't need to go always with the full data set, but we can take samples of it and subsets, doing filtering on the fly. So for instance, if we wanted to focus on those 1,500 invoices in the accounts receivable process that are paid by the customer, so they are cleared, it's this easy, just clicking on the activity and it's proposing us a filter of these cases equal invoices going through the invoice payment, and by approving that one, we will have only those 1,528 unique sales orders going through the process that have been cleared and paid by the customer. And already over here, you can maybe see this kind of a loop that some of these clearings happen before the due date and some of them afterwards the due date, and already rising as a question to learn more about that. What type of cases end up being cleared late and for which reasons? So this is the basics of process mining. This is the flowchart. Maybe to quickly make it super straightforward, I will have only one case to be analyzed here. So from this huge data set, multiple orders, invoices created, I will just randomly pick one. So to clarify how the process mining technology works, there is this unique identifier. This is the region of the data partition in the server side, and then the invoice ID is 52,767. And this specific order, it went through this precise process with these in between lead times between the activities. So we can trace every one of the invoices in the accounts receivable process to this low level, that what happened and when. And actually this events analysis for this matching invoice 52,767 tells us the data requirement from Netsuite point of view. So we must have a case identifier, activities, and event types. And this is something that in cooperation with Sofigate, we have a perfect out-of-the-box connector for these kinds of data. So out of the Oracle Netsuite database, we are using the existing APIs to extract the data. There's, I don't know, Simo, do you remember, like dozens of different data tables? 40,
I remember.
Okay, 40 different data tables to be extracted and combined as a massive event log. And that
but event even log, though there is a lot of amount of data to be analyzed, the to create the initial process model took only, it didn't take that long. I don't remember how much time and effort was put into the creation of the initial model, but it was roughly speaking 1 day. So
Yeah,
quite fast and automated thing.
exactly. And then you already have the first model to start the deep diving in the data and learning from the cases. Fully agreed with you on that one. So process mining is easy, and it's just about you have that one case, but then you have all of your cases in the business, so potentially hundreds of thousands of different orders. And then the beauty starts in the picture that it's not only one unique path that and a variation of a business, but there are different operational ways. All of those are available in the form of spaghetti, so different activities in different sequences. Some of them are really acceptable ways of operation, and some of them are deviations which should not have happened and should be avoided in the future. This demo company, there are operations in the Nordics, Sweden, Finland, Norway being the biggest. I think the business period is mostly for 2020. This is the monthly trend, so pretty stable operations from invoices point of view. These are just the basic functionalities of QPR Process Analyzer to deep dive in your processes. So I really love it on the customer workshops, for instance, that we pick a certain country, for instance, Norway, and instead of the process for all the Nordics, we can drill down the Norway and do within the Norway some specific analysis, either from KPIs point of view or different any other subsets or customers being chosen there. So there is, for instance, in Norway, 125 different customers building this customer volume there. So this is the different ways and means to learn from your actual process and maybe to support the different use cases that Simo mentioned there earlier, this harmonization and actual data and these different points. But then there's also so much more on top of this. This is a free flow process discovery analysis, learning from the data. Maybe quickly we could check QPR preset category. So this chart that I'm driving here on the right hand side, multiple different features, but then there's quite a gallery of out of the box content, analytics, duration. So if you would like, for instance, end-to-end duration here as a time trend, it's just about to click there and you start to see a little, really impactful visualization on the right hand side. So there's both the case count and the average case duration over time, both visualized there with just one click of a preset. Then, for instance, in scope of RPA, there's multiple different analytics. If I just quickly run this one, it's manual activities per case. So you can see the different types of activities. So we have actually 4 categories currently in the data model, some automatic ones. So this is workflow automation within Netsuite. Then there are bots, so RPA bots doing all kinds of different activities, for instance, project creations and some status changes there. And then there's plenty of this dark blue, you can see the manual work. So all around the process, there is really a value add for actual human being doing those activities, or then it's a potential for automation and some capacity that haven't been yet fully used. And the final category is not applicable. So obviously in terms of this process mining, there's a couple activities like invoice due date. From automation point of view, you don't actually use that one because it's not a transaction. Nothing happens on the due date specifically. It's just the payment that may happen on the due date or the previous. So it's artificial activity. So we don't count it in actually from RP analysis point of view. Simo, have you been using these analytics presets in your customer projects with QPR?
Yes, and they have been really useful to us also at Sofigate, since we wanted to produce and give our business people the metrics that they want, not pushing there some pre-existing metrics, but really to understand what they want to see, what performance do they need to measure, and then build up the building up of those metrics was really easy and flexible, and to create dashboards for different stakeholders based on those metrics. Yes.
Indeed, definitely. And then as we discuss also this transformation topic and different journey, we have also this digital transformation. It's been a very, very popular one during the maybe this year. I would say that this external situation with businesses, this all the COVID, and this has forced the companies to really do huge leaps in the form of digital business, and those, so these trend analytics have been very big in the ongoing year. So for instance, in terms of cases, but the digital fit, and this ratio is also really nice, that and the smaller the better, and the idea is that these and the figures over here are some transactions which are manual, and either you can cut it down by automating the activities, but actually if the automation is raising more activities in quantity wise, it's just fine, because the automation doesn't cause any extra work in sense. So the digital fit is counting only the amount of manual work for a certain perimeter. So if we do it by the attribute, for instance, we can see now the company code, but also based on, for instance, this Norway operation offering wise, that what is the best from digital fit point of view, and this campaign X business have been the best fit for digital point of view, least manual activities over there. Maybe we could check also the manual rate trend, but yeah, there are fluctuations and actually just a few outliers, but the average is around 40-30% there. So this is the free flow analysis and the key components of QPR Personalizer. How does the application look in terms of Netsuite? We can see over here the QPR core components like process discovery, conformance checking, these valuable features to do the understanding and awareness of the process, communication for the different functions and the parties, that how actually the process is working, and the invoices with the rework, all the root cause that's in the beginning, in the upstream of the process, and that's something we need to change in order to reduce our credit blocks or credit notes ratios, either of those. Okay, here we can see multiple dashboards from Oracle Netsuite point of view. If we begin from the overview, this is something that is like plug and play content for any Netsuite organization.
Yes, and I have to say that our business people really like these visualizations, and these dynamic dashboards were really easy to use. It didn't require any training for this product, but you can basically start using it any day you want.
Indeed. So there's, for instance, a attribute slicer here, and now it's based on the companies. So for the top management of this organization and learning from this accounts receivable process, it's very easy to see the main business, maybe seeing also the figures was for speed, and so all the other charts on these dashboards are updated based on the filter here, that okay, it's about 35 million worth of invoices created within the company code Sweden, and this is the trend over time, also value but PCs wise, and the matching key performance indicators over there. If I click away, we get back to these all the business, so valued about 240 million from these three different company codes. Multiple attributes here to slice and dice the data to drill down the relevant insights. But we can see here maybe a few of these major KPIs. On-time collection, that's absolutely one of the most valuable ones. if we think about days to pay and these or the days sales outstanding, for instance, in terms of this accounts receivable, this on-time collection is highly valuable to see that how large of a portion of the business is collected on time. And it's easy to adjust the parameters there. Do we allow, for instance, delays of 2 days or 3 days or such for the banking? But then there's the hard stop that these cases should be paid really on time by the customers, and then maybe to discuss the customer account manager there that what can we do with this one and how big of a problem is that causing, for instance, from working capital point of view. But we have a drill down analysis for that one. We can shortly do that one, but let's do overview also for these other KPIs. Labor type, something we quickly saw earlier regarding automation. So different categories. Now we have invoice and project creation. So if we look at the process, each the long end-to-end, different activities are manual, but automatic, and you can see the trend, maybe actually automatic wise a little bit rising, but fairly stagnant. So this organization, if its try was to rise automation rate, this would be a perfect ground to do that, because there are successful cases maybe to do the drill down and to learn that, okay, which part of the business have been automated now and what are the areas that are easiest to automate next. Really common for process mining, as we can do any process step to process step lead time calculation out of the box. This is now invoicing time. So how long this organization is taking time per different offerings to invoice. And this should be naturally minimized because any extra time there to invoice after you have the right to do it, it's wasted working capital. We have also very nice drill downs for that one. And then this conformance, last but not least, or what do you think, Simo, this core model thinking there? So we categorize these cases into either conformant or not conformant, and absolutely having a drill down there. What's your favorite? Where would you like to start the drill downs, or what would you like to discuss together with me?
Maybe from the transformation point of view, we could start from the conformance analysis to see, because that is related to the user adoption and the adoption of the target way of working. But I guess those overview metrics are dependent on each other. So the better you do conformance, the shorter your lead times are, and the shorter your lead times are, the quicker you can invoice the customers and so on. So
indeed, so it's a huge puzzle, or how would you say, the organization, and there is a lot of cross collaborations, and it's vital to have that kind of dashboard to have the overview and the direction of the operations. But hey, here we've got the conformance dashboard, something elaborated already a bit earlier. So now we want to divide basically the invoices and all the end-to-end process flow, either successful, which is conformant, or not conformant, not that successful, by a certain criteria. And that criteria is over here described with the design model. And if I click the design model, we will see really straightforward process with the sales order created, the project created, invoice created, and the invoice cleared, delivered, sorry, and that's it. So this is the optimal way, for instance, for this demo case to execute the operations, and anything outside of this would be abnormal and outlier. And if we apply this one, we get to see that about 17% is still neglecting the process and having some abnormal behavior over there. From this chart, we can see the conformance level. Is it always like 83% successful? Not really. There was actually quite a drop in August. However, now it's back on the track. But this organization could aim for even higher rates, so we haven't yet reached the 90s, which would be excellent from conformance point of view. and I think the target is actually around there, the 80 currently. So been fairly successful in the past months for it. What are the outliers? For which reasons are we not getting 100% of the business conformant? We can see the top violations over here. For instance, credit memos occurring. So almost 10% of the business is having credit memos. But among that one, there's multiple different options for case to fail. We have also one visualization here from process execution point of view, which colorfully telling us that this credit memos, that's a gigantic one. Then there's invoice failures, so some indeclarations failing on the process, another issue, and then this pending fulfillment statuses on the sales order stage. So all kind of challenges from process execution point of view, which do not match with the current core model and the optimal design. You can see also the core metrics here with indications, and the ones that are non-conformant have more activities and a tendency to have the rework and repetition. I really like this kind of component. On all of our dashboards, we have a table where we have the key metrics, for instance, the business volume and the conformance trend, but also we can change the slicing dimension on the fly. So we can see that, yep, Norway, that's doing great. The 90s conformance. In Sweden, we are lacking behind in the mid 60s. But we can on the fly change this to be, for instance, solution wise, and we will learn that, oh, there are also differences, that main service that's very popular from solution point of view, and the conformance is relatively high, but then there are a lot of outliers. And then also one that we always run is for customers. And how is it customer wise? That is there certain customers sticking out and some really excellent customers. So Hellman with almost 200 cases in business volume with a decent conformance, but not top line. So you can see that the best practices are still not in the biggest client. But there are clients, for instance, in the top 10, Volker Clean doing almost 100% of the business like a clockwork, and everything successfully there. And then there's a gigantic one with Nielsen with the dramatic drop with smaller portion of the business. And this is something that we can on the fly click this one maybe to learn that, oh, okay, what's going on here? What's the trend over time there for this customer, which has a very poor conformance trend? All the graphics are updated to match it, so we can see that no, that's the most popular value for this end customer. The trend over time, it's been really low constantly. So it's not just a one-timer, but it's month-to-month low. Actually, the average duration of this non-conformant case is taking quite a bit. So I see that there's quite a hassle with this customer, and something to be maybe discussed and then workshopped. A lot of credit memos, almost almost 3/4 of the business is having a credit memo there. And here we can see different root causes and variations in that business. Where do those credit memos turn out and how those can be managed? So actually the credit memos is not just in the latter part of the process, but different stages of it, and causing multiple challenges there. And then we have also case level analysis, that the actual invoices, 44 of those are described in this list, or actually just the non-conformant ones. So the 3/4 of the business and the non-conformance reason for each, and a few KPIs. So it's very easy for the business to learn from this list and to see it on the spot, that what was the challenge and how can the organization improve from there.
If I think from a successful transformations point of view, this insight that you are showing is quite invaluable to the transformation management group, to actually show them that how things are starting to run in the new platforms.
Yes, I agree. It's very valuable, and quite often the core model is developing, and that, for instance, in the before the run phase, there are the testings and development. So you have a certain design there, and then you learn from that one that, hey, actually this is not the optimal one, but based on the user adaptation and different stages over there, we must change the core model and shift it towards this sort of a behavior, because this is the best from system, but also from the human aspect point of view, how that should be set up.
Yes, and this gives us the facts to make those decisions, those business decisions.
Absolutely. So it's so much more fun to do those on the fact base than on the hunches, and then look at the back mirror. That how did we do?
Yes.
Very good. By the way, our audience, I don't know if you have any questions, but you are very welcome to send us those in, and maybe Yen can pick those from the feed, and we are happy to discuss those. Okay, so we've so far seen this conformance view and overview. Maybe quickly we could touch on event automation. This automation, it's such a big topic, and something that process mining can feed very valuable information. This is maybe for more mature processes once the transformation is starting to pick on, and then you really want to look for the different adjustments there. But naturally, why don't you do also the planning for this at any stage you would like? So the automation rate overall within this organization, about 1/4 of the business automized within these different event types. So with this QPR personalizer, you can on the fly change the business activities that you want to analyze in terms of automation. We've selected now the most typical ones, for instance, the main activities, project creation, sales order creation, and so on, leaving out those deviations that you absolutely do not want to automate, because that will be actually multiplying the challenges after all in your organization. So only the happy paths to be automized and the most relative activities over there. And you can see that actually more than half of the project status changes and projects created are done by the bots. So that's easy job to be done with those, with certain parameters there in place. But then there's plenty of manual work and then really low amount of invoices created automatically. However, I'm sure there's plenty of business which have the sales order and all the other information in place, so that the invoicing could be automized through the different automation and online channels. And this is a nice slicer also based on any attribute in the data, company code wise. I can see that this organization is pretty flat. So somewhat all the organizations have this automation on this rate and stage, but I'm sure that when scaling the different regions and parts of different countries, this organization would face the situation that then there are some parts really lacking behind with poor automation rates, and something to be picked on and easy quick wins. And there's code for picking the most common manual activities. And then, as I mentioned, these couple over here, they are also indicated with these large bubbles in the top right corner, with huge ratio for manual work and a great event volume. And then these are the activities that have a large event volume but are already somewhat automized. What do you think, Simo? Is this like a one-time exercise that you check the automation rate to today's situation and you go forward with that one, or do you like the dialogue from this data and you have it repeatedly updated?
I guess all these measurements can be one time, but of course we prefer the real-time metrics, since that gives you a really good competitive edge when you always know the current situation and you don't have to rely on past data. And since it was quite easy to to build the connector in Oracle Netsuite, it didn't take that long time, and to get the data running and in real time reading and process mining.
Very good. I agree. I think we are shortly running out of time. As a last slide, maybe I could show you one of these KPIs. Salesforce, that's interesting that from sales point of view, the NetSuite business, I think all the sales directors would wish that, I don't know, 80–90% of the business is coming through the Salesforce and the optimal process in use. But for instance, this organization, we can see that there's relatively low rate overall for this Salesforce usage in parallel with the NetSuite. But this trend that have jumped major time. So there's been drastic changes in May and July to take that part of this adoption journey. I would say this is a pretty beautiful journey that it started with just a few cases, but the sales team is learning the benefits of the Salesforce, and that can be feedback from this two point of view that these KPIs are going much better direction. The leadership of the sales process, the insights are so much better and something to be optimized and predictable, that we know that what to expect from next quarters, but because we have the leads and the opportunities fixed in the Salesforce and nothing to be guessed on. So the journey's been really nice, and the adoption, looking forward to see really high 100% overall. So for instance, these two last months, if I would pick just those, we can see from metrics point of view that it's been very nice, and the value of that business going through the Salesforce, that shined it. So 40 million just in 2 months. And different offerings, there are now different metrics. So new sales, we can see that the new salespersons are not really that good on the Salesforce usage, but something really the basic offering and chatbots and offering for the medium companies is working well. Large accounts, maybe the transformation started from there. So very good results, good feedback for the team with large accounts. So there's plenty of insights, so many dashboards we didn't have now time to go through and discuss, but Simo and myself are very happy to have a further action together with you and learn from those. So you can anytime contact us. Let's do a quick wrap up. I don't know, Simo, do you want to comment here or? So
I guess that's pretty obvious. Why not to use your data to help ensuring a successful transformation, since it's quite easy to now we have ready connectors, ready-made apps, and ready-made analysis. So why not to use those to ensure the transformation and to save time and money making that happen?
Exactly, I fully agree. And the really nice point of this exercise is that you don't need to generate any data from starting on today, but you can already benefit for all the past data you have potentially in the system, and that's just visualized today. So no need to.
And that is one thing that I want to highlight, that if you're planning a transformation, you are not yet doing a transformation, but you are trying to seek justification for it and inspiration why to start a transformation. It's good to use process mining to get the fact-based understanding of the execution gaps that you have in your processes.
Yes. So the different journey stages on that life cycle: planning, building, running, and improving. So any of those stages over there, they benefit massively with that actual process understanding and follow-up capability, gap analysis, harmonization, automation, improvement, you name it. So different topics. Typical business benefits from this sort of a process mining exercise, that time to deploy ERP systems is dramatically shortened. So even though those timelines are really short today, and something with these cloud systems already optimized, but still by learning on the fly from those test scenarios and deployments and core models. It's very beneficial. Rework and changes, we saw today a crash profit, so the different credit notes changes happening, so a lot of unwanted work reduced. Improvement on lead times, you can pick any point-to-point lead time, look for the root causes for the outliers, and see the impact of better results. So doing also simulation over there. 25% increasement of automation on the spot. And then there's, as Simo mentioned, this out-of-the-box application available just today, so it doesn't need any manual work or such to put it in place, but it's just connecting with Oracle.